Barbershop conversation, guys. Feel free, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to join the Patreon. I keep on falling in out of sleep. You know, when you travel and you come home, your body just fucking just relaxes. But I wanted to do this video because I promised y'all this, and I typically do a recap when I travel for fights. I get there Wednesday morning, and I go straight. I go check into the hotel, and I go straight to the media workout. This is Wednesday, and during the media workout, you know who I was impressed with prior to it? Chris Colbert, before the main event, walked in. Although he had me confused with someone else, he said I hated on him. He had me confused with someone else, but I didn't want to take his thunder in front of the media, so I just pretended to be that person. You know what I'm saying? So he was talking smack, and I obliged. The first time I said it wasn't me, and then and I felt like that gave him his superpowers by having probably an enemy. But what I will say is this: I was very impressed with his lead hand. His lead hand is like a power shot. Um, he's very much in control of where he's at in the ring, um, what he's doing in the ring. He obviously can cut off a little bit more fat by not using the entire ring, um, sidestepping, countering off your side steps, staying close enough so they can't use their whole, so they have less power where they counter you, and smothering them with footwork. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, little things like that. But I was overall impressed with him. Little B-Hop, they call him, the golden child. Um, Very impressed with him. And Saturday, I'll talk about this now. Saturday night, he even put on a hell of a performance. I wish he wouldn't absorb that much punishment. He was catching a lot of stuff. But when you got a lead hand like his, like I'm not comparing him to Larry Holmes, but his lead hand is like thunder. And go back and watch the media workout. You'll see how strong his lead hand is. And I wish he would use that more, as opposed to sitting on the ropes catching stuff. And I understand he wanted to put on the show, but I'll say this. He didn't knock the guy down at all, but his ability to do a lot of many things in the ring is very crowd pleasing and entertaining. And I thought he won by unanimous decision. I don't know what the cards were, but I believe he probably won 7 of the 8 rounds, 6 of the 8 rounds. Oh, so that was pretty dope. And then Josito Lopez walked in with Big G and the rest of the Riverside Rocky team, and they were just based. I'm still on Wednesday, guys. Still business as usual. Um, Nothing out of the ordinary. Um, Josecito was dressing warm. I believe he was in his cut and weight phase, obviously, right? It's Wednesday. And it was just business as usual. Didn't give you any sound bites. um, he believed, I believed he believed he can win, but in addition to that, I believe he had to figure out how. I didn't, I knew he believed he can win, but I didn't believe he knew the actual steps to take the win, like what pieces of the game plan would work, you know, because Keith is a exceptional fighter, and he too knows how to win fights. Leonard Bundu, he spoke about this in the post-fight press conference about Floyd being the greatest 7-round fighter. So obviously he's adopted some of that mantra, win 7 rounds. We saw it. The perfect example for him was the Danny Garcia fight. You know, he won the first 7. He probably won 6 of the first 8 rounds of that fight and took one somewhere else. Um, and so, but as I digress back to Josecito, just pretty calm, dressed warm, business as usual. Team was real business. Um, and then Keith Thurman walked in. And as soon as Keith Thurman walked in, there's an energy about Keith Thurman that not many fighters have. Um, I think Mikey Garcia has that type of aura. I'm not sure, in a different way. Um, I'm trying to keep it as close to this fight as possible, so you guys can see. Like Marcos Maidana had that type of aura. I remember covering that fight. Um, Obviously, Floyd Mayweather has that type of aura, um, but he has like this, you know, his swag. You know, as they say it now, his NSA. Um, he has that, you know. And when he walked in, there's a there was like a a flow of energy. And when he began, he did his interview first, which was backwards. And the reason why he did his interview first was, in my humble opinion, is he knew he was going to work out for an hour, and he wanted to stay warm so he can get the hell out of there. I'm assuming, you know. Um, but you guys saw the interviews. He was very open, very honest. Um, Worked out straight for 90 minutes. Didn't make not one mistake on the jump rope for like 25 minutes. You know, I thought that was exceptional. Shadow box for about 30. Jump rope for about 25. Total workout was probably 55 minutes to an hour. Um, I thought he looked great. Spoke well. Um, the highlights of it was um, his understanding of Deontay Wilder. I thought that was exceptional. This is Thursday. I'm still Wednesday at the uh, media workout Wednesday, and his understanding of Earl Spence and the urgency for that fight. He's slowing it down because he wants it to be for 3 belts. He said he wants to fight twice this year, um, and yeah, man. But I do I do get the sense that the Earl Spence stuff is upon him. Is He's aware of it. I don't know to what level um, of, of of elevated attention it is with him personally. I don't know that, um, but I believe that he wants the WBC belt, and then he wants to go fight um, Earl Spence. Excuse me, guys. Thursday was basically some of the same. You know, they were very accommodating. The final press conference. Um, what was the highlight of Thursday? Mm, I had a great interview with Dad, with Big G on Thursday. I thought I want to thank him for his time. I thought he was exceptional. Um, you know, I had a great time. Yeah, that's my first time ever interviewing him. You know, I've obviously been around him, but because of the language barrier, and every time I see him, he's either with Mikey, Robert, and obviously it's better to interview them just because of the language barrier. You know, and I I always defer not to interview Big G, and I'm not sure if you guys know I was a history major in college, and I love stories. Like always, when the camera's not on, I always ask fighters to tell me stories. Like Al Bernstein and all these guys always say, "Hey, tell me a boxing story." I always tell them, always ask them to tell me a story. So I'm big on like getting to the point of where you're at right now. As you guys saw in the Robert Garcia interview, like I was very interested. I'll get to that, but I was very interested in in him and his legacy and how it happened. But had that interview Thursday, um, and it worked out really well. Hopefully, it was received well online. Hopefully, you guys learned a little bit more information about him. I did know he said they have a much better corner than Derek James and Earl Spence. I'm pretty sure that got their attention. That's I'm sure they read it. I'm sure they watched that video by now. Um, and But that was Thursday, you know. And oh, Wednesday night, I forgot to tell you. Wednesday night, I went and saw James Harden get his career high, 61 points. Thought that was pretty dope. Um, and Thursday, I came home, watched Malcolm X, and went to my hotel room and fell asleep. And Friday morning was the weigh-in. Um, they both came in great weight. Keith Thurman didn't look as physically great as he did against Sean Porter. Body was a little bit softer than normal. Um, Still looked good. Still looked above average. You get what I'm saying? Not flabby or soft, anything like that, but just not in as good a shape as possible. And then, when I saw him, I went on BoxRec and I realized he said after the Sean Porter fight, the day after the Sean Porter fight, up until that weigh-in, he has had one fight in 31 months. And I was like, wow, I didn't know. And when you put that in perspective, and then when I saw how he wasn't looked as good, I realized that um, um, the video I just did, that's when I started to understand that quite possibly stuff has been going on with him outside of the ring. Stuff quite possibly that he can't control, you know. And I was not meditating, but thinking about that stuff heavily. And but they all look good. It was really no bad blood. It was a gentleman's card. Um, um, and then Friday, I went to the Nets game, went to Rodney Dangerfield's comedy show, and went to bed. And Saturday was fight day, and obviously I'm as anxious as the fighters, man. You know what I mean? So I just go to the hotel. Always go to the hotel, and what I mean, get interviews and hang out. And oh, let me talk about Friday. I'm gonna do a separate video on this. Um, um, I'll just say this: if you guys respect me, you guys should respect Gary Russell. I thought Gary Russell's a cool dude. Gary Russell's one of them guys. If you having a fight in the alley and if it's you and Gary against five dudes, he gonna fight with you. I'll just leave it at that. And for that, you guys should go follow Gary Russell on Instagram. Go to his next fight, support his next fight. Just because I can't get into details as to what happened because it was a private matter. But what I will say is, a lot of respect should go on Gary Russell's name. I have a great deal, and I told him that Saturday when I saw him, which leads into Saturday. So I just go to the hotel and I ran into Big G, and Robert actually surprised Big G and Josecito Lopez. I saw Ellie's channel that he had arrived, and she bumped into him at the hotel. And we had like an hour-long interview, which I thought was pretty dope. I thank Robert for that, and we always agree to disagree as it relates to these three fights. Um, you guys know from the first video I had, I told you guys I've had a great deal of respect for them. I just disagree with them on this fight and these three mountains that they're climbing, you know. Um, um, and and then you guys saw the interview with Gary Russell, pretty dope. And then he and I ended up having like a conversation about life, like 45 minutes after the interview, which I thought was pretty dope, sensational. Um, if you have an opportunity to talk to Gary Russell, I would suggest that you do. I don't care what color you are. I'm just thinking about just his ability to function on higher frequencies than me. Like, I had to search and navigate to um, reach where he was thinking and he was talking. You know what I mean? I had to search through the murkiness. You know what I mean? Sleep deprived, eating bad. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful that he afforded me that opportunity to speak with him and Robert, for that matter. Um, and then it's fight night. Fight night. I walked in on Chris Colbert. First, I walked in, and the news of the day was Deontay Wilder's brother was knocked out. Marcellus Wilder was knocked out. I was shocked. I was conducting interviews, so I couldn't make it over. But I was shocked that he had knocked out because I knew he had a fight date in London. You know, um, had already been pre-planned, and obviously, I thought they was going to use that fight date to promote Fury Wilder 2, as I suggested with Tim Smith, of Heyman Boxing. So um, that didn't go over too well. And hopefully he can bounce back, get back in the gym. And I didn't see the fight. I just saw a screenshot. Um, but I walked in on Chris Colbert's fight. Sensational. Kid is sensational. I wish he would use his lead hand. I said this already. Um, he don't have to sit on the rope and catch and counter and slip and counter, slip and shoot. Man, take lead. It was an 8 round fight. He should have led for 8 rounds of the fight. Because every punch you take in your life is compound interest. Even when you're 22, 23, it's going to catch up with you. Every time you get hit, your brain rattles. You know, and I just uh, would like for him to, although he looks sensational doing it, I would like for him to take the lead the entire fight, and I definitely want to see more of him. Um, Tug, I walked in on Tug and um, forget the guy's name, Marcelo. Good fight, good competitive scrap. I thought Tug won. Um, I love the fact that Tug's fans showed up. Um, they had the, they had the, they had their flags. They're from Mongolia, I believe, and he earned the right as a title eliminator to fight Gary Russell. Obviously, I believe Gary Russell beats him. Um, if you didn't watch the interview, Gary Russell says he's only staying at 126 to fight Leo Santa Cruz. Then move up 130. He's willing to fight Tank, and 135 to Lomachenko. And then we get to the co-main event. It was very one-sided. I was very shocked. It was one-sided because Gerald Washington hired a new coach, new trainer, and I thought he was making headway. I saw his last fight, and I thought he was making headway. He beat Doubtfire, here in California, and I thought he had made some improvements, but he showed nothing this fight, and we'll see where he goes from here. And the main event, it's Saturday night, the main event. I thought Keith Thurman looked good for 4 rounds. I thought Josecito Lopez was a game opponent. I thought Josecito Lopez, in my humble opinion, was as good a shape as I've ever seen him in. Like Keith Thurman, I've probably seen Josecito Lopez last 20 fights. Every punch. I haven't missed a fight just because, every time he fights, it's always a big fight. He's just is. And he had the 7th round. He had his chance. But he turned the ball over. And I had a chance to rewatch it now. I fell asleep on it, but I did see the 7th round. He's going to regret the last 30 seconds of that 7th round. He got tired, and he should have fought through exhaustion. I believe if he wins those last 20 seconds, Keith Thurman quite possibly stopped. 100% believe he would have got knocked down if he finishes the round. He was gassed a little bit, and he has every right to be gassed, and so Keith Thurman didn't do a great job holding on. I wish he would have held on a little bit more, just for the sake of his health. Taking them wide open shots, man. You're not gonna be able to do that against an Earl Spence or a Sean Porter or a Terrence Crawford, or Manny Pacquiao's left hand. You won't be able to do that. You're gonna have to clinch. You know what I mean? And maybe tackle him to the ground. Stuff like that. So you got to go watch some Bernard Hopkins tapes. And learn what you do when you hurt or when you want to. More importantly, cut the fight in half. So so he won, and then second half of the fight, Keith Thurman wasn't Keith Thurman, what we are typically accustomed to. He has a lot of improvements to make. I did a video earlier today. I just want to come from a different angle. I don't want to say the same thing people are saying. Why should you come to my channel and hear the same thing that everyone else was saying? Because in the press conference, in the media, the consensus of the media and just the arena was like, Keith Thurman can't be XYZ. So I figured I'll take another angle. And one fight in 31 months, I think takes a toll on you. And you don't know when it's going to show up because he's 29 and 30 years old. So you don't know when it's going to show up, but it will rear its head, its ugly head, as they say. So And it showed up yesterday. And one fight in 31 months on any level is not gonna work. And even if he wins, he's gonna take punishment that he shouldn't take because of his inactivity. Um, so from that standpoint, I think that he needs to be a little bit more active, um, and um, get it done. And that's a wrap. Keith, and my last thought was, I think Keith Thurman knew exactly where he's at. He gave himself a C performance, which basically he understands that where he was. He acknowledged Josecito Lopez did a hell of a job pressing him in the seventh round. He admitted in so many words it was the toughest round of his career. Um, um, and um, yeah, but at the end of the day, I'll say this: Keith Thurman is back. He's great for the welterweight division. He woke up Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford. I haven't heard anything from Sean Porter. I haven't heard anything, but we'll sit back and see and enjoy it. These guys will be on Twitter every week, Instagram, talking through interviews because it fights every week. They'll be talking back and forth, and that's what we want. We need storylines, to keep us engaged. These guys can't fight every week, so um, I would anticipate Mikey Garcia and Earl Spence are in New York right now, actually, um, doing a photo shoot. So, um, yeah, literally as we speak. So, um, hopefully, we'll get some storylines from that, and we'll move forward from there. So, anyways, man, I genuinely appreciate you guys. And after the fight, I don't get a hotel room on Saturday night, so I just make videos and talk to people and wait in the lobby area until because I'll be at the airport at 5 o'clock, so it makes no sense spending $150 on a hotel room when I can just wait 4 hours, So, and then I'm here back in LA. So, anyways, man, I thank you guys. Got a lot of new subscribers this month. I just want to say thank you. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate you guys, and more content coming. And I want to do one more video tonight, and then go to bed. So catch up on my sleep, and we'll get it back going. But I just want to say overall, I just want to say thank you. I truly appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I failed to mention Deontay Wilder is on his way. He has to win. Um, if he wins this year out, um, if he beats Tyson Fury in impressive fashion, and then knocks out Kornowski, I would go if he fights Tyson Fury, assuming he wins. I would go get Kornowski over Dominic Brazil. Fight him in Barclays, sell that sucker out in the main event, and put a Puerto Rican on the undercard. A Puerto Rican versus a black on the undercard because you're going to have 4,000 Polish people. Bring in the Puerto Ricans, bring in the blacks, and you're going to have a great event because the city of Brooklyn, the borough of Brooklyn is going to show up regardless. You're going to have 5,000 Brooklyn people in there just because it's a fight there, So I think that will sell well, do well, and you'll have a sold out event. You can have a sold out event anyway because the baddest man on the planet is coming to Brooklyn. So just that alone, makes it go. But I was very like taken back. There was a woman, and I believe she was on one of my videos before too. I'm uncertain if it's the same woman. It sounded like the same woman. I didn't get a chance to see her face because it was dark, and she poured her heart out to Deontay Wilder. And from Deontay Wilder's seat to the back, it took him about 30 minutes. I was waiting about 30 minutes. And that's the treatment that Mikey Garcia gets here in LA, and those two are the superstars of boxing, Earl Spence included, and for all the right reasons, and I applaud those men, and it's just I don't take it for granted, but I'm honored that I have the ability to cover them, and tell their stories. So, anyways, man, barbershop conversations. That's my recap, and have a great week, y'all. Peace.